Ball. Let's start with baseball, and I know this is surprising because we're going to talk about the Chargers, but you were at the Padres game, the series against Pittsburgh, and you wrote a fantastic story for the Sporting Tribune, effectively saying we're at the point in the season, and again, a lot of fans may have already given up 5 games below 500. What put into context what's happened with the Padres this season, and is there hope that as we get towards the trade deadline that they can maybe turn things around?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think fans are just going to the games to get drunk now because they're drunk in their sorrows.
To do it.
Well, it's been a rough season. It's just like there's a glimmer of hope. You're like, oh, here it goes, and then bang, okay, they hit another slump. They just went 1-2 against the Pittsburgh Pirates, like, who had lost, I think, 13 out of 17 before heading into the series, and had swept the Padres in Pittsburgh. So it's just been a whirlwind for them. You don't know what to make of it. I mean, Machado, Tatis, Soto, they're all saying, as long as we start winning, if we can win one, we'll kind of get it going. Well, one, like, okay, you won one, but then you lose the next one. I mean, a couple of days ago, they had won 14-3, and then the next day they come out and they lose 2-0. Like you need to be more consistent, and that's what they haven't found here is consistently. Cronenworth, 7-year contract, he hasn't been worth it. Bogarts looks kind of like a bust right now, so of a signing, and it just it's not materializing. They don't have any good relievers. And for the trade deadline, they say that they want to be buyers, they don't want to be sellers, but you kind of have to look at it, and maybe Blake Snell and Josh Hader should be on the way out, fix the farm system, get some pieces, but it sounds like AJ Preller and the team are going to stick with it and see what they can do moving forward with these last few games.
I will add this because I wanted to ask you about this too, Fernando, because they made the huge trade for Juan Soto and they gave up now number 4 overall prospect James Wood, Robert Hassel, who's a top 100 prospect, Mackenzie Gore, who's been pitching well, and CJ Abrams, who's now been balling the past couple of weeks. They gave up a lot, and they might not even sign Juan Soto long term. So I do get why they would want to buy, because they're like, well, we're 6 games out of the wild card or whatever, and it's like, we did all that for Soto. Jackson Merrill looks fantastic in the minors. It's one guy, but and
Ethan
Salas, the catcher,
the
catcher's legit, 17, whatever, and making his appearance in Double-A. Or single A.
If this was soccer, by the way, he'd already be in the major leagues and he'd already be ready to go. Yeah. That's just how crazy baseball is and how many steps there are to make it all the way up.
But I wanted to ask you, what is the percentage you think? Because realistically, we look at the standings, they're like, they should be sellers, right? Blake Snell might win the Cy Young. Like, he's been pitching excellent. Hader's been great, the one good reliever they have, but everything else hasn't been great, right? So what is the percentage they do sell? Because, it's still 6 games back. There's like a 10% chance they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just stayed the course and maybe those guys leave in free agency. That's what it kind of – it's just crazy to see everything that has kind of happened. Like you mentioned, I mean, they've given up so much, and it even looks like Juan Soto pretty soon is probably going to be more of a DH. He's more of a liability sometimes in the outfield. I mean, last year we all saw he lost a ball in the sun. This year he's done that a couple of times as well. It just feels like they may move him to DH. So do you really want to pay a DH $500 million? But I mean, they have their building block. They have Machado, they have Tatis and Soto. That's a good building block to have, but can they get him re-signed? That's going to be the huge question. But if not, that trade just looks terrible. Without making the playoffs and everything, that trade just looks terrible, and it looks one-sided for the Nationals. But I just don't see. I think they're going to hold out hope until officially says, until ESPN posts the picture, eliminated, not making the postseason. I don't think they're. I think they think that they can still make it. They have all the talent in the world, but the problem is their guys just aren't hitting. The last year when they made that run in the playoffs, it was because Trent Grisham, Cronenworth, these guys were hitting. These guys were getting on base. Even I mean, most of their back end of their lineup was really the power that put them through against the Dodgers, against the Mets. Those guys just aren't working this year. And I really do think that if you don't make the playoffs and next year you don't have Snell, you don't have Hader, you need to go get guys. Like, you need another center fielder. You need to fill out your team with not expensive players, but guys that just fill the roster. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers,
Yeah.
Trey Turner's gone, Bellinger's gone, and they're still in first place. They're still building up. So they need to go get guys that just love to play the game, guys that can get on base, guys that can hit. But I mean, easier said than done. And relievers, obviously, but I guess easier said than done. But yeah, I don't think they'll be sellers, to be honest. It just doesn't seem like their MO. It feels like they may try and buy, and not something expensive, but try and buy something to maybe re-energize this team. But it's just not the same as last year.